So yesterday, news broke that the Atlanta Falcons will be trading for Patriots pass rusher Matthew Judon, sending over a third-round pick. And I think this is a trade that makes perfect sense for both sides. From the Patriots' perspective, you have a team that, let's just be honest, is not going to be playing come late January. They're a team that still has not been able to find their footing since moving on from Tom Brady. Now, of course, they have Drake May there. Seems like a very raw talent. Still has a lot of ways to go when it comes to his development. And so when you look at Matthew Judon, when you have a team that's in that space, in that situation, Matthew Judon being 32 years old now, it makes perfect sense to trade him away and get a third-round pick to build for the future and stack up that draft capital to be able to add young guys for the future. Now, for the Atlanta Falcons, obviously, the move to sign Kirk Cousins, I do think puts the Falcons into being playoff contenders, which I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to win their division. And I think some people were debating when the Falcons decided to draft Michael Penix, number 8 overall. People were thinking, what are you doing? You just signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year deal. Why would you not draft someone who could come in and immediately be an impact player? And honestly, personally, I had zero issue drafting Michael Penix. That partly could be because I'm a Packers fan. And at the time when Jordan Love was drafted, many Packers fans were freaking out, thinking, what are we doing? We have Aaron Rodgers. Why aren't we going to maximize this championship window and get him a player that can be impactful right now? Because if, just like Michael Penix is not going to be an asset for the Falcons, or at least a productive asset for the Falcons the next couple seasons if he's not starting. It was the same way with Jordan Love. And now, of course, as a Packers fan, I'm very satisfied, very happy the Packers drafted Jordan Love. So it's not a bad idea to, at times, prepare for the future, even if you have a very, very good roster. So I had no problems with that, first off. And now I think the Falcons are showing you that they're very clearly in win-now mode. And I think teams can be in win-now mode while also preparing and hedging for the future, which was the decision to draft Michael Penix. And so when we look at Matthew Judon, as I said, he's 32 years old. Last year, he only played in 4 games because of a torn bicep. But if you look at his production in 2022, 15.5 sacks. And in 2021, 12.5 sacks. And so for this Falcons team that lost Calais Campbell and Bud Dupree, both who were tied for the most sacks on the roster, this was a very, very necessary move. You throw on top of that the fact that their young third-round pick, Braylon Trice, tore his ACL and was placed on the IR on Sunday. This was a move that was, I think, a necessity if the Falcons want to have any chance in the playoffs. Because outside of now Matthew Judon on this roster, the edge rusher room is pretty weak. There is not a lot of depth there. And if you're going to be a serious competitor come playoff time, facing off against top-tier quarterbacks, top-tier offenses, you can't have zero pass rushers who are, problems for opposing offenses. And so this was, I think, a genius move by the Falcons. Yes, you're giving away a third-round pick, but you're getting back a guy who's going to produce right away. So for the people who were very upset with the Falcons drafting Michael Penix, if you think about it from this perspective, I think that Matthew Judon is going to be more of an asset, more productive in this 2024 season than whoever else you wanted the Falcons to pick at number 8 in round 1. Because even though, top 10 picks, they probably are the most likely to be productive early in their careers, it doesn't always happen that way. There are top 10 picks, guys in the top 10, of course, who end up never being good players. It's a very, I'd say, low percentage when you get a top 10 pick. But lots of even top 10 guys in the top 10 take time to develop before they rise to that elite type level. And so I think it's very wise for a team that is clearly very much trying to push for the playoffs, push for a Super Bowl by signing Kirk Cousins. You're getting a guy right away who is going to come in and, if healthy, is going to be probably one of the better pass rushers in the NFL in Matthew Judon. And so while you drafted Michael Penix, that's a future bet. This is a bet for the now. And so I honestly really like the Falcons and the way that they're operating right now. I think that is very wise to draft Michael Penix because you don't want to be stuck in a couple of years after Kirk Cousins is gone wondering, what are we going to do next? It's very smart to develop a player behind a guy like Kirk Cousins. And I know people have brought up, well, Michael Penix is an older player. He's already 24 years old. And let's say 2-3 years, he'll be 26, 27. Quarterbacks can play till they're 37 years old. And so I have no issue with them drafting a guy who's a little bit older than your typical drafted quarterback. And so I really do think this is a Falcons team that has a very real chance of winning the NFC South. I would almost be surprised at this point if they don't. Because, I mean, we got the Panthers, the Saints, the Buccaneers. I'd say the Buccaneers are the biggest threat to the Falcons. But with Kirk Cousins here in this offense, I think they're going to take a massive step forward because Desmond Ridder was not it. Kirk Cousins has been a very successful quarterback. Now, it hasn't been in the playoffs, and maybe he can change up that narrative here in Atlanta. But with all the weapons Kirk Cousins has at his disposal, I think this is a very dangerous Falcons offense. The defense is, I'd say, not quite at the same level as the offense is going to be. They were 18th in points allowed last year, as I already said. Lost their top two productive pass rushers, but now with Matthew Judon, that should, I think, more than be enough for this defense to do enough to keep this team competitive throughout the season, and I think they're going to win the NFC South, have a home playoff game, and come playoff time, as I said, you need to have a pass rusher who can come up big in crucial moments, a guy who can, change things, get a big sack on a third down. And before signing Matthew Judon, the Falcons did not have that, and now they have that in Matthew Judon. So I think it's a very smart move from both sides. If you guys want more NFL content, feel free to subscribe below, and I'll see you guys next time.